Hi, I'm Ed from Bikerheadz, and today I'm going to explain the difference between a sub £100 helmet and a £400 helmet. So one of the major questions we get asked here at Bikerheadz, whether it be at shows or we're showing products or online, is why someone should spend extra £300 on a £400 helmet as opposed to sub £100 helmet. So I'm going to go through a few of the different features of both of them, try and explain to you where that money's going and whether you should or shouldn't spend that money. Let's go through a few of the features. So let's start with the most important thing on a helmet in terms of its safety is the shell. So you've got two different types of shell here. You've got Scorpion's base level helmet, which is a 390, which is a polycarbonate shell. It's a very good helmet at its price point. So you've got polycarbonate shell on this one. The Schuberth S2, which has a composite structure shell, mostly fiberglass built into it. So in this area, you're talking about lots of different composites from lots of different manufacturers. So normally it's fiberglass or carbon are the major things. Polycarbonate is basically a plastic helmet. So a polycarbonate helmet is a cookie cutter, comes straight out of a machine mold as it is. A composite helmet takes a lot more work. There's about 3 ways of making composite helmets. I'm not going to go in depth into those 3 ways. They're much more labour intensive and it's much more by hand than your polycarbonate shells. That increases the cost. But is there a benefit to you, the consumer? There is in terms of its safety. So when you're buying a polycarbonate helmet, if you do have an accident, you land on the side of the helmet, on top of the helmet, wherever you land on the shell, your head is still accelerating inside the helmet. So as your head accelerates into the EPS, which comes underneath the shell itself bends in on a polycarbonate helmet. So that reduces the distance your head has got to travel, so it doesn't have as much time to slow down. So basically you get more damage to your brain inside a polycarbonate shell because that happens. So how does that work with a fiberglass composite shell? When you crash the composite shell, what happens is you get cracks across the composite, as opposed to it bending in, it won't do that. So your head has the same amount of time more time to decelerate because you're not reducing the amount of EPS between your head and the shell. So you're getting less energy transmitted to your brain, so you get less chance of brain issues with a composite shell as opposed to a polycarbonate shell. Now you might say to me, they're both pass EC2205, which is the standard. I always say to people that the EC25 is the bare minimum. People like Schuberth are testing to a much higher standard than that. When you're trying to buy a cheap helmet, they're just trying to get just inside that at the lowest cost possible. You're not going to find that with a premium helmet manufacturer. They're making the helmet the best they possibly can. Hence why they use composite materials in the shell as opposed to polycarbonates. So that's your shell structure essentially, difference between the two. And that's probably the most important difference to begin with. The other difference is a much more active and passive safety. So if you want a load of active safety, and what I mean by that is when you're wearing the helmet, how comfortable is it? How much are you concentrating on the riding? How much are you concentrating on my helmet doesn't fit quite right, my visor isn't quite proper, I'm getting noise through here, I'm not getting enough ventilation, all those type of things. So let's take them in turn quickly. So aerodynamics when you're buying a helmet. Something like a Scorpion 390 hasn't really done any aerodynamic testing in a wind tunnel. It's just been made to look good. It's got ventilation in it, of course, but there's no aerodynamics going on this particularly because at that price point you can't afford to spend the R&D on aerodynamics. When you're buying a Schuberth S2, it's been wind tunnel tested for 1,000 hours for its aerodynamics, the airflow, so you can see things like this front bend. The reason it's scooped to the front is because they know in the tests that all the airflow is going down and into the scoop. Another little claw on the Schuberth is these turbulators. What they found is when the visor's open, as the air flows through, you're not getting whistling through. When you put these turbulators on, sorry, you don't get the whistling. With the Scorpion, of course, as it comes through, you're going to get a whistle through that visor. So it's small little things like that on the aerodynamics that increase the price again, because the time spent is massive. The cost of the wind tunnel, Schuberth actually own their own wind tunnel, but it's still a cost of the investment they need to get back. So their helmets cost a little bit more. Finally, on the aerodynamic side, you've got this thing called lift. So the Scorpion, for example, on this type of helmet, you're going to get a lift at the back. So as the air flows over the top of the helmet, curls around the back, it's going to tumble around the back of the helmet and lift the helmet up from the back. If you look at the Schuberth, the air's going to come over the top, hit this lip, move the area of turbulence further back, you're not going to get any lift. So Schuberth try and make these 100 km an hour, 0 lift on a naked bike, sorry. So that's how they like to make their helmets. So more expensive helmets, kind of better aerodynamics, be more comfortable, you get less push on the strap, less lift, less noise coming through, and that brings me on to the next thing, aeroacoustics. Scorpion themselves will try a little bit to reduce the noise on the helmet, but if I just turn it upside down quickly, you'll be able to see something. This is where most noise comes through helmets, or quite a lot of the noise. If you minimise this area, you're going to get less noise up. So something like a Scorpion's going to have quite a big opening here, makes it easier to put on, makes it more comfortable when you're putting it on, so when you're trying at school you think, that was easy, I like it. And that's how that one's fitted. When you come to the Schuberth, if I spin it over, much smaller entrance here. So this collar's bigger, this acoustic collar. So it just cuts off that area a bit more, you're going to get less wind noise up. With the aeroacoustics as well, they're going to try and make the outside shell just give as much airflow over the top as smooth as possible. As you can see with the Scorpion, lots of bits jutting out all over the place. That's going to create wind noise. So there's just two different ways of doing it with the helmets. Next part of the equation, visors. Now these have both got black visors on. As standard, of course, you're going to get a clear visor, just so you're aware. Schuberth will always use an optical class 1 visor, along with many premium helmet manufacturers. That's what they like to do. Optical class 1s means no distortion in the visor at all, so you're not going to get any flaring when you're at night time, that sort of thing. Optical class 2 visor, like you find on a cheaper polycarbonate helmet quite often, you're going to get more flaring in the visor at night time, you're going to get a bit of distortion, possibly fatigue over long distances. So that's a massive difference. It costs a lot of money to get an optical class 1 visor. So that's quite a bit of your money's going into that area as well. On the S2 you're going to get a pin lock included. Pin lock's going to stop the product fogging up at all in those colder mornings. On a 390, at that price point, you're just not going to get a pin lock. Pin locks are worth about £30 retail, roughly. You can't put that in an £80, £90 helmet, because then you're only getting a £50 helmet with a pin lock. It doesn't make any sense. So on this type of price point, you're probably not going to get a pin lock included. With the Schuberth, you will be getting a pin lock included. Ventilation. Ventilation goes along with aerodynamics slightly. So the S2, for example, as I said earlier, you've got this scoop vent at the front, so you're going to get loads of airflow in. With the Scorpion, just a pop-up, pop-down vent, slightly cheaper to make. On the top, you've got a 3-position top vent, which is removable if you want to clear out bees, wasps, that sort of thing while you're riding. They're buzzing around in there, you can just pop it off and take them out and clean it. Fixed vents on the Scorpion, little poppers to open and close, a little bit harder with the gloved hand. This is super easy with the gloved hand. If I spin it round, you can see the back of the helmets. So both have very, very similar exhaust vents. If you look how small the ones on the Scorpion are around here as compared to the S2, you've got a large exhaust vent. That's because the ventilation comes through here, round the cheek pads, up and out and down. So you're getting full ventilation round the cheeks and round the top. With the Scorpion, the ventilation just comes from this front vent round to this rear, so it's just going over the top, so you're not going to get as much air ventilation through the helmet as you do with the Schuberth. Moving back onto the interior, turning it upside down, so you can see the interior of the Schuberth here. I'll stick to this because it's quite hard to see right inside the helmet, so I'll stick to around here just to give you an example of why you're spending the extra money. So you can see the beautiful finish around here, Coolmax lining, reflective posts inside as well. That's just on this acoustic collar. Inside's all going to be Coolmax as well, 3D linings with different types of foam, so different densities of foam in different areas to make the helmet as comfortable as possible and last as long as possible. With the Scorpion, if I turn it around, you should be able to see that the finish isn't quite as nice. You haven't got the nice materials around here, you haven't got those reflective points, you haven't got the Coolmax lining, you've got their own version which is called Quick 1, so it's slightly less wickable lining inside as well. The cheek pads are quite firm and quite big, so you can feel they're going to squish in and look quite a bit, and they're going to give quicker, the helmet's not going to fit you as long. So that's another little difference between the two. So we're building up a picture of the two. A bit more longevity, nicer, all that sort of thing. This one's going to not last quite as long, going to give a bit quicker, the airflow's not going to be as good. Last but not least, we're going to talk about quality control. When you buy a Schuberth, you're essentially buying a handmade helmet. Everything's done by hand, the graphics, they reject a lot of shells at Schuberth because they're not quite meeting the quality standards they want. Polycarbonate shell, cookie cutter, quite often you'll get a good batch, a bad batch. The graphic won't be quite right, lined up properly with the Schuberth. They're always spot on with the graphics, the quality control side of things. Because you're spending a bit more, they can afford to spend more time doing that quality control process as opposed to a 90, 80, 90 pound helmet where they really are just churning them out of the factory by the thousand. So big difference between the two in quality control. So finally, coming back to passive and active. So passive and active safety. Passive is when you fall off, active is stopping you falling off. So the passive safety side, you're getting a composite shell, which is going to be safer in terms of accidents than a polycarbonate shell. And the active safety side is you're going to get reflective points behind this visor, reflective points on the bottom, more comfort, less noise, better aerodynamics, less lift. The comfort lining is going to last longer, it's going to wick away sweat better, all those sort of things. So that really is the major difference between a sub £100 helmet and a £400 helmet. That's your major differences. Comment in below if you've got anything you want to ask us, or if you've got any comments you want to bring up, or anything you think that's not quite right or that is right. Go down to comments, comment down below, subscribe and like, and I'll see you at the next one.